Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Matt Spangler, and today I will be talking to you about Curriculum 21. And before I start, I just gotta say this is jammed packed full of a bunch of different things that I can't even begin to cover in this short video. So I would highly suggest you go out and read this book. It is very worth the read, and it's very insightful for someone who wants to be a teacher in the future. So the topics I chose to cover in this book are as thus: curriculum mapping, setting a global standard, and media literacy. And the thing that makes this topic so interesting and vital for teachers to analyze is how relevant they are in a quickly evolving world. Now, let's start with curriculum mapping. I'm sure we're all aware of at the beginning of a semester when you have to plan out what you're going to do for the semester, how you're going to set up your lesson plans, what you're going to do, what date, and all of this. And what an article I read talked about, teachers often find themselves doing, is tracing. They go back to how they've always done it, or they go back to how other people have done it. And I linked the article in the description below talking about how we best change that. But Curriculum 21 takes it a step further. It says to not only try to change our lesson plans up every now and then, it says to take stuff out that might not be relevant much longer. Like, as someone who wants to be an English teacher, I thought about using letter writing, for instance. Not many people in our modern society write letters. As sad as that is, and as much as I love the art of letter writing, it's just something that's not that important to the student nowadays. Now, that's not to say we don't teach it to them entirely, but say you have a semester where you substitute letter writing in for formal email construction. That's something that's very relevant and still follows the pedagogy of teaching English and trying to get that in their head, while not bogging them down with something that may not be relevant to them anymore. And again, this is not to say that we don't have to teach this any longer, but it's saying think about how to shape your subjects in a way that's relevant to the students. And that goes in with media literacy later, but that will get there when we get there. Another thing that the book really talked about was setting a global standard. Now, at first I thought this meant something along the lines of trying to have all the world have one giant education system, and that kind of made me apprehensible. But I realized that it's not saying that. It's saying to put a global perspective's spin on everything that you do. Not to say every single lesson plan has to be like, oh, and there's this country in Asia that does the same thing. No. What it's saying is that you need to try to think about how what they're learning can influence the world around them, and let them know that. And that's something we really need to push, because our world, whether we like it or not, is becoming a more global community. We're less focused on who we are as a nation as to who we are as the world. And the book really goes into great detail about that. In the article I read about this, it goes into detail about how there's lesson plans called the Victorian model, is what this one article talked about, how it makes sure to implement a global perspectives within all of its coursework. And that's not to say, again, it's not shoving it down their throats, but it's just slightly sprinkling in a bit of, hey, this is another section that you don't really know, another really world or area you don't really understand, and here's how you can apply it to what you've learned today. And I really like that, because I do feel like as a country, specifically because we're Americans, we don't really like to think about the world outside of our own. I never really thought about it until I got to college. So I like that a lot, and I think that's be vital for all teachers to use. Finally, one of the bigger things that I really liked about this book was our talk about media literacy. Now, we talked a lot about literacy in this class, so we talked about literacy with our subjects, though, but we didn't talk about media literacy. And that's the sense of, we have all of these tools. We have all of these new tools, like even Moodle. Moodle was listed, how we can help better our students' education. Like, instead of saying let's do a poster board or let's do a PowerPoint, even say make a video about it. And I even saw the topic of using in the article I read about using a video essay instead of writing the essay by hand. And as much as I love to write essays by hand, I feel like a video essay would be greatly appreciated by the students. Not because they get to skip out the writing, because no, you can still have a video essay and have bad writing. It doesn't follow the punctuation, the grammatical structures, or the syntax that you would normally follow. But you still have to have good writing. You still have to present it in a clear, cohesive fashion and construct it like you would a paper where it has each section, and you have to organize it correctly. And I feel like that'd be a great thing to do every once in a while with a student, to say, look, this, I'm trying to get you to have these skills, and you don't necessarily need to write a paper to do that all the time. And so here's another way you can do it. So I feel like by understanding the media around us and understanding the stuff that we have, social media, smartphones, YouTube, even some of the weirder stuff like VR eventually maybe, we might be able to figure out ways to integrate that within our classroom, and we need to keep up to date and figure out how to integrate in our classrooms. This chapter told us we need to be creative. We need to get creative with how we use these systems in order to further our students' own education. And that was probably the biggest takeaway I had from it, was that you have to sit down and really think about, how can I teach my students and make it relevant to them? How can I look at the world around me, how has it changed, and how can I make it to where they'll feel like I'm not just some dinosaur trying to tell them, this is the way we did it back in my day. You have to make sure you make it relevant to them while still keeping the things that are timeless, the things that can't be substituted out. So I can never get rid of essay writing. I don't want to get rid of essay writing, but I can, every once in a while, sprinkle something else in, like a video essay, just because it A, engages the students, B, it helps them craft a new form for what they got to do, and C, it's just something that we're going to keep seeing more and more of. I can't even count how many video essays I've seen on YouTube in the past year alone. So I really feel like this book is very essential to teachers trying to figure out who they are in this modern era, be they old teachers or upcoming teachers. But I do feel like this book is worth the read, and I am running out of time. So go and read this book. I'll have articles linked in the description below, and y'all have a blessed day. Bye-bye.